Hi, Peter. Hi, Dill. Can you just let me know you can hear me? Because I'm using a new setup tonight. Hi, Derek. Have we got sound? Can somebody let me know? Alright, cool. Thanks, Dill. As you can probably tell just from the camera, um, I've got a new camera setup and microphone tonight, so um, it's hopefully going to focus completely on the flies rather than on my beard, as quite often happens. But we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. It'll either work really well, or it could end up being a complete nightmare, couldn't it? Thanks, Derek. Yes, I really enjoyed last night. This is the camera I'm going to use next time, because I really think that I need to focus on the fly. I was conscious of that last night, but it was lovely to see some people. Mark Civitar doing my mayfly, and that was great. And the weird thing is, because I've got this new setup, I've got a whole different set of boxes and things on my screen with Facebook giving me all sorts of streaming metrics and stuff. It's weird. Well, that's going to be interesting. No, I got you back. I got you back. Okay. Hi, Tony. Good to see you on this week. Hello, Peter. Sorry I missed that. Peter, glad that you can see it, and we're on live tonight. I'm glad you're here. And it's not going to be a long session tonight. I'm going to keep it quite short because I've got a really lot of driving to do tomorrow. But we're going to concentrate on looking at some buzzer patterns, and not just the sort of classic shape buzzers, but also things like this little beauty that I've got here in front of you, which is a cruncher pattern, which is a pulling buzzer, if you want, but it's a nymph, isn't it? It's a pulling buzzer on a straight hook, and it's a lovely little fly to tie. You just change the colours out, and you can get all sorts of different varieties. We're going to tie Shipman's buzzer tonight. We're going to do a strip quill buzzer as well, and if I can find them, we may even do a suspender buzzer, depending on the time and how far we can go. So I hope that floats your boat, and hopefully you'll be able to go away and have a look at some of the patterns and try them. They're all patterns that I've used and I've caught fish on, so there's sort of nothing particularly new, but we're going to start off tonight with a very simple little buzzer, which is a strip quill buzzer, and it looks like that. Okay, and that's what we're going to tie to start us off. So I'm going to start off tonight with a fulling mill heavyweight champ black nickel hook. This is a size 12. It's got a nice long shank on it, which is great because then you can put the materials in that you need to put in. I'm going to put that in the vise for you, and hopefully we won't go in and out of focus tonight, but we never know. We never know. Oh, we've got Malcolm on as well. Sound is a little intermittent. Okay, thanks, Tony. I've got a little microphone here, so I'll move it up and see what happens. There's going to be little teething problems, I'm sure, during the course of tonight. So please just feed back to me. Let me know if there are any significant issues. I'm going to use some nano silk for this, and we're gonna start off, and I'm gonna put my tie and silk, leave a little space at the front for that head, and I'm gonna run my tie and silk halfway down in line with the point, and use my trusty scalpel. There we go, just to remove that. And then I'm going to use some Semperfly microglint in red. It comes in all sorts of wonderful colours. It's a multi-threaded tinsel, and you can put it on a bobbin and actually use it as a tying thread as well to tie up buzzers and nymph bodies and things. I'm just going to take a little bit, and I'm going to form a tag at the base end. So I'm just going to bring the glint in, and then I'm going to take my tying thread down, and then bring it back up again just to tidy up those loose ends. And then I'm going to, in touching turns, I'm going to take the microglint around the shank. Although it's a straight hook, I'm going to give it the impression of the slight curve in the base end of the chironomid. So these little larvae that live in the water and the fish are constantly feeding on. Around we go. Bring it all the way back up again. Bring my thread back down. I'm going to tie that off. 2 turns. Clip it off. Just tidy that up. Now, I'm going to use, if I can figure out what I did with them. Oh, there they are. I'm going to use some hand stripped peacock quills that I've got here. These ones are Vineyards. They're okay. And I find that they're not really as long as I would like, and they can be quite brittle. So often what I'll do is I'll put them in a little egg cup of water if I know I'm going to use quite a few, and in that egg cup of water they'll sit, they'll soften up. The other way of doing it is to hold them in your mouth and allow them to soften up. Haven't done that tonight. They come with this little tail end here. I'm just going to nip that off, and I'm going to apply my stripped quill at the base with the dark side pointing skywards, because I want that beautiful barring effect. Now, although we're going to resin this, it's still important to get as much of the base layer as we can. And for this, I'm using nano silk at this point, and because the nano silk doesn't build up lots of bulk, it's going to be quite a slim profile. But at the same time, I want to make sure that I'm not leaving bits like this little bit of tinsel that are just sticking out there. So I'm just going to come in, just nip that off. It's worth having a little check. Come back round and just cover those in. Right, now I want to leave a reasonable section here for the thorax and the head. So I'm just going to bring that back, and I'm going to take my stripped quill. Now this is the point at which is at its most. Oh, it has gone out of focus. This is the point at which, let me just get that back in focus. Okay, first teething problem. There we go. This is the point at which you can have the biggest issues in terms of it snapping, and that snap is really frustrating, particularly if they're quite old or if you drop them like I almost did then. And I'm just literally going to just start to wind my stripped quill up the body. Now I'm not going to do total touching turns. I'm going to utilize the black thread to form a very distinct rib as I go up. So I'm going to leave a bit of space between them. Around we go. Even spacing. And any imperfections in the tying thread, lumps and things will be sorted out with a bit of resin a little bit later on. Around we go and back up. Ooh. Do that again. There we go. Back up, there we go, another one. That's better, and we'll end there. I'm just going to drop that across a couple of times, 3 times, 4 times. Can let go now. I'm going to use the rest of that quill to bulk up the thorax area. I'm going to lay it across the top. Run my tying silk down and back again, and then just pull, and it should come off cleanly. And there we have it so far. We've got our tag, we've got our strip quill body. Now I'm going to put some cheeks on, and in terms of the cheeks here, I'm going to use some red holographic tinsel, and I pre-cut this, he says. There we go. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take my tying thread all the way back up, almost to the eye, and I'm going to catch in my tinsel up and bring it right down underneath. So I've got equal amounts either side, and then what I'm going to do is just bring those 2 pieces on either side backwards in line with the shank, and then hold them at an angle, and then tie those in, running all the way back, running all the way back to the base of the thorax. There we go. And now I'm just going to build up the thorax area. You can take your time. Obviously you could swap the thread, and that's what I plan to do. I was going to use some UTC black thread for this, or some floss, but it's all come out of my bobbin, and I don't want to spend the time getting it all back in, so I'm just going to build it up with this tie-in thread. You take a look. You want it quite pronounced. And then I'm going to come in, I'm going to leave my tying thread at the eye, and I'm going to bring my cheeks forward at an angle and hold them above the eye so they're at an angle, and then allow the tying thread just to trap those in. Spend some time just manipulating, and what happens is they sit just underneath like that and coming across the top. And then I'm going to come in, nip those off, and then just tidy up. There we go, just tidy up at the head, and then we're going to whip finish. Like so. No breathers on this one, just a plain standard buzzer. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use some Golf Thin Man. And what this will do is it will protect it, because you've got some very fine materials in here, particularly the quill. It'll protect it, and hopefully the fly will last quite a few fish. But also it will just eke out any little imperfections and lumps. And I'm going to use one of these little wands. This is an eyelash wand, and we talked about it on the Ludlow group last night, and people are marketing them as little wands to do touch-up work on cars these days. I first came across them at the BFFI last year, but I found them on a website dedicated to beauty and cosmetics. Don't ask me why I was looking at that. I just was. Story for another day. And I'm just going to use this just to manipulate my drop of resin. Now this is the thin man, so it's not going to form a big bulky body, and in fact I want it as fine as I can get it. You could just use Sally Hansen, you know, some varnish, all perfectly good. I like the fact that the resin levels out. It finds a natural level. And then give it a blast. I think I might need to charge my my lamp. And then I'm just going to put a little bit more just on the thorax, just to make it just a little bit bulkier. And I try and get some air bubbles trapped in it at this point. Whether or not it makes a difference, but it sort of mimics the air bubbles that the chironomids have surrounding them and trapped around them as they're rising through the water. And there we have it, our first fly of the evening. You could put it on a curved hook. You could. This is on a straight hook. It depends on whether or not you're going to fish them static or you want them moving a bit more. Change the colour of the strip quill. You could just use floss with a rib. All of those things are fine, and just mix them up into different colours. A little bit of Sally Hansen. There we go. Let that cure and dry. And obviously, if I was tying lots of them, I'd make them all up and then do all the resin work. I wouldn't stop individually to do those. Let's see. What else have we got? Oh, Malcolm, you're here. Good, nice to see you, Malcolm. Evening, Dan. Evening, Brian. Kieran. Hi, Kieran. Dave, thanks, Dave. Yeah, I still got some little teething issues with focus and stuff there. I'll work all that out. Malcolm, you're here. Good, excellent. Yeah, Dylan will do some of these with a massive zonker tail on them and call it a leech. We'll see those in action. Okay, going to take that one out. It's a lovely little fly. Lovely little fly. And allows you to, you see that sitting in the water. It's got that red hemoglobin filled tag end. Imagine that being a real target point for the fish. Okay, next fly I'm going to do Shipman's buzzer this time. So for those sippers that we end up with, you know, and if you're on the reservoirs, Shipman's buzzer can often take fish just in the surface film. I use a similar sort of premise with a fly that I tie called the Wisp, and it's very similar. It's just got CDC as the tail and the and at the head. and use that on the river for those fish that are just quietly sipping away in the margins, as you know, and they're really spooky and hard to get to. It's a really nice one. I'm going to use my favourite at the moment, which is my copper nano silk. You can see I've almost used it, and there's over 100 meters on these. I just love the colour and the strength to it, and I'm using a Fulling Mill light all-purpose hook here, and I'm going to run my tie and silk down, form a nice thread base towards the barb, and then I'm going to nip off like that. And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to use for the tail and the posts, I'm going to use some Semperfly floating polygon. It comes in all sorts of colours, which is great. I'm just going to stick with the standard cream today, and you get loads of it. And there's more. There's more than I need there. Although I could use that, it is more than I need. But I'm just going to come in and I'm just going to take a quarter of it away, because it's a bit much. Quarter of it away. And just run my fingers down it just to get rid of any loose bits. And it's really good for parachute posts. It'd be very good for a bubble. If you like your caddis imitations, La Fontaine Sparkle Caddis would use this to form the bubble over the body. And it's a lovely material. And pinch wrap just to hold it in place, keep everything on the top. And I'm going to run my tie-in thread down towards the base. And we have it. I'm just going to bring it back up towards the eye, trying to keep everything on top of the hook. And then run my thread back down again. Oh, just caught that. Run my thread back down again. And you can see the start and the end. Excuse me for coughing. I'm just going to trap down all the little bits there and finish in the middle. I'm going to play around with those in a minute. For my rib, as he reaches over, I'm going to use, wrong one, I'm going to use some Uni-Mylar Peacock and Orange Mylar. I use this a lot in flies. Excuse me. I haven't coughed all day, so it's just weird. And I'm going to use this for a rib. So, and I want the peacock side forward. So I'm going to tie it in with the orange side facing me. So there's the orange side. Oh, just come in, get used to this. There's the orange side. And I'm just going to, there we go, tie that in, hold that in, take my tie-in silk, tie-in thread back down to the base, back up again just to tidy that up, and I just tuck that out of the way, and there we go, and then bring my tie-in thread all the way back down. Oh, excuse me. Now, I'm going to keep, for the body, I'm going to use a dud body, and I'm going to put some Andrew Scruffy dubbing in the cinnamon. Here it is, and you can see that there it is. It's a beautiful colour, it's beautifully blended. and I'm just going to put a nice little noodle of dubbing. Don't want it too tight, I want it quite buggy looking. And I'll take a turn at the base and then just use that just to trap in my noodle, and then take that, and every turn or couple of turns I'm just going to make sure it's in the position I want it to be in. There we go. It's a bit bulky there. Get it around a little bit more, so I want that body to have a bit of depth to it. That rib keeps coming out of the my holder. There we go. There we go. Really bulk it out, particularly in the middle section. And take your thread back up. And then I'm going to take my rib, and I'm going to rib it counterclockwise with nice equal spacing in between. I just love the effect that this uni mylar in the peacock gives. Slightly too wide, there we go. Back round again. It's a size 12 hook this, so it's going to take quite a few turns. And the copper coloured nano silk doesn't bulk up too much, but it also blends in. So I can then bring it in front. I left a bit of space right underneath the front, just to kick that up. And then just come in, whip finish. Ooh. There we go. Clip that off, and then I'm going to come in, I'm going to hold the tail, and I don't want a straight cut, I'm going to angle the cut, so I'm going to hold it right out, and I'd rather have it longer than too short, so I'm looking at about 2/3 of the body length. There we go. It just flares out at the angle, and I'm going to do the same at the head end. There we go. And then out comes the trusty loddy stick with the Velcro, and just tap it and just let the Velcro grip and do its work. You don't have to rub. Not too much. Might just have to give it a little tease on the sides. And there we have it. Second fly of the evening. Nice little Shipman's buzzer. Okay. Yeah, Dan. Shipmans are great as well. If you spot the fish and they're just taking down the shucks, the casings of the flies as they've emerged and what they leave behind, and these are just sat in the surface for them. Lovely little fly. Okay, so that's our second one. Third fly of tonight. We're going to come back and we're going to tie this this little cruncher. So sort of a pulling buzzer. So to speak, not a buzzer in its traditional form, It's unweighted. It's going to be up towards the surface. It's as if it's the struggling fly. Put a bit of weight in it and you get it down as a nymph. Again, I'm going to use the my fully mill heavyweight. And I'm going to put that into the vise. I'm just going to put that into the vise like we've done before. There we go. There we go. I'm definitely going to use nano silk for this because I want the slim profile all the way through. I'm going to start here about half a centimetre away from the eye, and that'll become apparent a little bit later on. I'm going to bring my tying thread down to in line where the barb would be, but just before the shank just starts to curve significantly. I'm going to take that off, and then I'm going to use some dyed black hen. It's very soft, this hen, for the tail. So I'm going to come in. I'm going to select quite a large feather. You can get quite a few flies out of this feather. I'm just going to strip away the flue at the end. Little hint, a trick that I always tend to forget is that, you know, I'm right-handed and I want to put the tail this hand, so I'm not going to take these sections here because then I'm going to have to reverse it in my hands. So what I'm going to do is take it from the left hand side, and I want a big pinch. I want it quite mobile in the water. I'm going to pinch them all together, pull, and then offer them up. And you can see they've got a bit of a curve to them, so I'm going to turn it so that the curve is going up like that. And I'm looking for about the length of the body. I'm going to pinch wrap just to hold that in place on the top. Put a second holding wrap in position, make sure it hasn't twisted. There we go. And then when I'm happy, tighten up on it and use that nano silk just to trap everything down. And then I'm just going to nip off these little tag ends there. Next I'm going to put a rib in. So the rib is Semperfly tying wire 0.1 mil in red. It's very fine. Its job here is to protect the body, but also, you know, add that little bit of red in there that I like. Just looking for my wire snips, they're hiding, and I'm just going to clip that off and place that along the side of the fly, trap it down and keep it on the side of the fly so it's not spinning, moving, all the way to the base again, and then back up to where we first tied in, just to tidy that up, hold everything down, and then back in line with the point. And then I'm just going to trap away the wire, get out of the way for the moment. And for the body on this, excuse me, the body on this I'm going to use some black pheasant tail. For those of you heading up to the BFFI, on the cook seal stand, there'll be a set of trays with loads of pheasant tail in them. You know, I can often be found rummaging around in them for hours trying to find the best, longest, and the best patterned, best dyed. They're all pretty good. And I'm going to take about five of those little sections. I'm going to pull it out at 90 degrees so that all the tips are together. Give it a pull. There they are. And again, these can be quite brittle, and nano silk. This is where nano silk I find can be a bit of a problem. Is that what can happen is that it can be so strong that it will cut through the fibres if you pull too hard. So they're tied in. Excuse me. Okay. I'm hoping that we can still see everything. I know I've got a bit of a frame rate issue. Don't know what that is at the moment. We'll work on that. And I'm now just going to build up a little bit of a tapered underbody using the tying thread. I reckon it's my daughter streaming upstairs. And then I'm just going to carefully wind in touching turns my pheasant tail body around. And tie off. And then one of the reasons I left this clear at the top is because I'm now going to use that waist pheasant as an under section for the thorax to build up the bulk. But so it's not too bulky though. What that means as well is that you can just pull these sections off. Don't have to cut them. You get a cleaner break. And then I'm going to come in with my rib. I'm going to rib counterclockwise again, equally distant, same spacing in between each turn. And if it doesn't, go back and recheck it. I'm going to get 4 or 5 in here. It's already giving a really nice effect. There we go. And again, I'm going to use the wire as part of the undersection of the thorax, worry it off, and bring it all the way back. Okay. Thanks, Malcolm, for that. So I can't see what you guys can see. I'm going to come in. I'm going to put some cheeks on this again. I'm going to use my holographic tinsel. This is the small, so it's very fine. I could make it wider, but I quite like it understated. And of course the tinsel, because it's been on the spool, it will curl like this. So what I'm going to do is going to tie it in so it's curling out towards me. I'm just going to hold it in place, and I'm going to tie it in just down the length, so it's situated down the side of the fly. Do the same. I'm just going to trim this because it's too long. There we go. I'm going to do the same on the other side. Use the rotary function of the vise. 1, 2, and have a little check. That's slightly too high on one side, so I'm just gonna, yeah, it's too high there. I'm just gonna move it down because I only used a lock-in turn. I can easily manipulate it to where I'd like it to be. Hold it in place and tie down. And then I'm just going to nip these off. Like so. bring my thread back up again. Now I'm going to put a thorax in. I'm going to use scruffy dubbing again. There's a black leech, and it's got a red tinge to it, like a magenta-y tinge, really, pinky red. It's very dark. I don't need a lot because it's not a massive thorax. So don't forget, we're going to put a hackle, a very soft hackle, on the front of this. So up it goes. 2, tighten it up. There we go. Round we go. Just build that up a little bit more. Round we go. There we have it. Thorax in place. And then I'm just going to bring these cheeks across and keep them in line with the eye. I don't want to put them at an angle. I want them straight, or as straight as I can. And then I'm just going to use the tie-in silk tie-in thread just to hold them in place. And have a quick little look. Yeah, I'm happy with that. And then put finishing turns, and then I'm just going to come in with the tip of the scissors and just nip those off. And there we go. Oh, got a spare bit. And then I can just tidy that front section up there. So now for the hackle. I'm going to go back to my patch of hen. And I've got these small feathers down the bottom here, and these are the ones that I'm after. That's it. And there it is. There's a good feather. Just going to nip that off. Take the fluffy bit off. There we go. But actually I'm going to tie it in at the tip, because I don't want all the bulk from this thick end of the stem on this particular fly. So I'm going to grab the tip and I'm just going to stroke the fibres back like that, and then offer it up onto the side, trap it down twice, and I'll pull back the tip, and then a fourth one across the top. And I'm just going to take the tip. I'm not going to cut it all the way back to the thread or to the eye. I'm just going to leave a little stub there, because that will secure it in place. There we go. Now I'm going to need my hackle pliers for this, because it's a tiny little feather, so I'm going to get those in place. I'm just going to hold it up like that, and they do have a tendency to twist, so be very careful with these as you go. And I'm just going to take some time just to draw all of these sections back. There we go. Then I'm going to put a turn in and follow through with the hackle pliers and keep stroking everything backwards. There's a second turn. Can get a third turn in there. There we go. Third turn. Might even be able to get another half turn in there. That'd be cool. Up we go. Don't worry if you've got bits sticking out, we can deal with those in a moment. Then I'm going to take my tie-in thread and I'm going to move it from side to side behind the hackle to trap it down, and moving it side to side helps stop me trapping down lots of fibres. There you go, 2 second locking, turn in, I'm going to come in, I'm just going to nip that off there. And then I'm going to draw everything back with slightly wet fingers. There we go. And then build up the head just at the front. This is where the tension can be increased on your bobbin. And you can see everything's just pushed back and it's going to start to pulse in the water. And then we can whip finish. There we go. Lost the scalpel then. Nip those off. Let's have a little check. Yeah, I've got a little fibre just escaping here, so I'm just going to nip that out. And then a little bit of cilia varnish on the head to soak in to that nano silk using a needle. Don't really want it to soak into the hackle if you can help it, but don't worry if it does. There we go. I'd be more worried about getting it in the eye or leaving it to dry in the eye. So what I then do is I take my hackle pliers, and I had that stem, and what I do is I use that as a little brush, push it through the eye, wiggle it around, making sure it can go through. There we go. And use that as a brush just to clean out the eye. And there we have it. So there's our slight different take on the buzzer, a pulling buzzer, cruncher style, nymph buzzer. It sort of comes into that format. Okay. Okay, so that's nice. What's that? That's 3 flies. Last fly of the evening tonight is one that I just had so much fun with over the summer when the conditions were really tough, and it's a suspender buzzer. And for this I'm using a super grub, fully milled super grub hook. I inherited a load of these packets of older hooks, and I'm gradually going to start to use them up, I think. But I'll use these ones today. In we go. Nice size. Just tighten that one down. There we go. Right, so for this fly, I'm not going to use nano silk on this one because I'm going to be putting in a foam post at the front. The nano silk will cut through it. So I'm going to start off. I can bring it quite close to the eye this time, and I'm going to run a little bed of tie-in thread just at the front here, and stop about 2 mils away from the eye. Bear with me, I just need to grab something. I thought I had the foam posts, but I didn't get them out. So the foam posts, Semperfly little foam posts here, ready cut, and you can get a couple of flies out of these. And literally, to start us off, what I'm going to do is going to take the end, and I'm going to put a little cut into it to make a little 45-degree angled cut, and that's to reduce the bulk as I tie it in. And I'm just going to offer it up, and this is where your pinch wrap is really important, because the whole thing will want to spin, I'm just going to pinch wrap it, and I'm going to pull that tight on the upward stroke and just hold it in place, and then put a lock-in turn in, and that'll sit it just on the top. And once you're happy, there we go, once you're happy, you can then just start to make quite wide open turns backwards to trap down that angled foam, and it gives you a little bit of a taper, and then you can tidy that up and come in. And I've left a bit at the front there, it's absolutely fine. There we go. I'm going to leave that for the moment. We'll cut that a little bit later on, and then I'm literally going to take my tie-in thread all the way down the curve, about 45 turns. You can take it as far as you like. Now this is definitely a fly that is designed to just be left hanging in the water with a slight pull up every now and then, and definitely not one for me pulling through the water at speed. I'm now gonna, you can put anything you like in as the body material on this, and I had it here. What have I done with it? Oh, I can't find the material I was going to use. But you know, you can try have absolutely anything, anything you like here. So I'm just going to use some Semperfly dirty bug yarn, okay, for my body. Again, it's a really nice material if you don't want to be dubbing bodies all the time, and it's multi-stranded, and in this case there are 2 strands to it. I'm just going to separate them out because I don't want that big thick piece, and I've got my piece there, and place it in, draw the bug yarn all the way back, there we go, and then tie that in and take it all the way back round to the base. I'm not going to overcomplicate it by putting ribs in and stuff like that. I'm literally going to leave it as it is, and then I'm just going to wrap the bug yarn tightly to start off with, and as I move my way up the body, I'm just going to let off a bit of tension, and it allows those fibres to expand back out again, and gives a bit more of a profile to the fly. I'm going to take this quite the way up, and tie that off. 2 turns, and then I'm going to come back and cover over that section so that it's in line with the hook point, and that's where my thorax is going to be. Now again, you can do absolutely anything you like with the thorax here. One of the things I found particularly effective was to use some straggle string as the thorax. So this is or straggle legs here. So this is Semperfly straggle legs in lichen. It's this beautiful greeny colour. And of course, you could use anything you like. You could use your favourite dubbing. What I found with this though is it dries out really quickly, like most synthetics, so it adds to the buoyancy, but it also is another trigger point because it looks like legs of an insect. So I'm just going to put it all back. Ooh. 2 turns to tie it in, nip off the waist, take my tying thread up. Now, with fritzes and straggle string and things like that, they generally have a side, the way in which they're made, they generally have a side that is flat. Sometimes it's quite hard to see, particularly on the smallest bits, but if you draw all of the fibres back, what I'm aiming to do is to tie the flat side down onto the hook shank, leaving the fibres uppermost. And to ensure that I don't trap too many, every time I turn I'm going to draw everything back. Don't worry if you do trap a few, it's all part of the game. You can always dig them out with a needle if you like. I want it to be, this is definitely sight fishing, so I want it to be pretty visible in the water so that I can sort of judge where it is. There's going to be a point at which I'm going to lose it, but then I have a rough idea where the fish are going to be, where it's going to be in relation to the fish. And I'm looking then at sudden changes of fish behaviour, so an acceleration into my target zone where I think my buzzer is, or a fish that lazily heads towards where I think it is, and suddenly you see that opening of the mouth like that, and the sudden white, and you think, yeah, that's in, up, I've got nothing to lose, I'm going to strike on that, bang, you suddenly find you've got a fish on. And then what I'm going to do then is I'm just going to bring my thread and I'm just going to tie off just underneath the foam post, and it cocks that up as well in the upright sense of the word, and come in with my whip finish tool. I've just trapped a bit of fibre in there, but it really doesn't bother me. There we go. And the thread I'm using here is Semperfli waxed 8/0 thread. Or it might even be 12/0 actually, I think 12/0. Just nip that off. Now, in terms of this piece here, you can make it as long or as short as you like. I found that it's really useful to keep it long to start and adjust it as you're fishing, because you can get by clipping a little bit off here and there with your nippers on the bank side, you can determine the level at which ultimately its sink rate. So I'm going to come in, and I'm just going to come in across the top. I'm going to leave it quite long, and I can adjust that on the water's edge to the point where sometimes as well it just becomes really small, but it's enough just to stop it from reaching the bottom quickly, and just as it's dropping, if you lose sight of it, just a quick little lift of the rod tip or a pull back on your fly line, it lifts it up into the water column, and you might catch a glimpse of it again. But sometimes that lift as well is the trigger for the fish to hit it, and suddenly suddenly you've got a fish on. Right then, guys, that's me done for this evening. So that's four little buzzer style patterns for you to have a play with, and see how you get on. And don't forget, we've got our weekly competition. If you want to tie one and send it up to me, put a picture up on the website, on the Facebook group, and I'll send out a little goodie bag of stuff for you to have a go with various things. Hope that was good for you guys. I'm just checking the comments as I'm going along. Malcolm, yeah, I'm sorry that your audio's a bit intermittent. I'm using a microphone tonight, which I've not used before, ultimately that could be the issue, but it could also be a streaming issue at your end, possibly. I I am having a little bit of an issue with frame rate at this end, so that could be a problem. It's Friday night here, you know, kids on their Xboxes and all that sort of stuff, and suddenly our bandwidth disappears. But it can only get better. I hope that the picture, the quality of what you can see is improved. I'd really like your input on that, whether or not it's, you know, how well the camera worked, and we'll go from there. And if you're heading up to the BFFI this weekend, I'll be thinking about you as I'm driving my way all the way to West Wales, and hope you have a good time and pick up some real bargains and meet up with lots of people. So that's me done for this evening. I look forward to our next one, which is likely to be next week, but it could be the week after. I'll have to make a decision on that one. I think we got a few things in the diary, but tight lines, everybody, and safe travelling.